In my hands, I have the two big dogs this year. This is the 16 Pro Max versus the 17. What is Apple doing with their base model? And my big question is it worth your hard-earned money? Because the 16 Pro Max is still an amazing phone and it's gonna be a lot cheaper in the coming days, or should you go with the 17? All right, first on these phones, I wanna talk about the display because that's like the primary thing that you interact with when you use an iPhone. The iPhone 17 to me is the perfect size iPhone. It's got a 6.3 inch screen, whereas the Pro Max phones, they have a 6.9 inch screen. That extra little bit of screen real estate is great when you're viewing content, but when you're like using the phone in your hand and you're trying to like dial with one hand, or what most people do, you're texting somebody and you can't get to that far away thing, so you gotta reach all the way over. It's actually better for me, in my mind, to have a smaller phone. Now they're both Super Retina XDR displays, which means they're super, super high quality displays. The blacks in them are just inky black. They look gorgeous. The colors pop on these guys. They both have the always on display, which I still don't know why people use that. I don't want my phone to constantly be draining battery. And then they both do have the really good, I think it's a great tool, the dynamic island. The fact that you can use the dynamic island and you can use timers and all that stuff with it, it makes it such a great tool. The biggest thing I find with it is when I'm using maps for directions, the dynamic island is awesome. Now the good thing with these displays, they're both 460 pixels per square inch, which means when you're looking at text, it's gonna be crystal clear. You're not gonna see any pixels. They're both beautiful. And then the other big difference is the fact that the 17 this year is actually 1,000 nits of brightness brighter than the 16 Pro Max. That, for anybody who uses their phone outdoors, that extra nits of brightness is a massive deal. Now the biggest things for the displays is the fact that the Pro models are not the only ones anymore with the 120 hertz. You see, Apple in the past has used their base models to use 60 hertz displays, and people get really freaked out. They don't like it. I have the 16E. I don't mind the 60 hertz all that much, but having 120 hertz on the base model is absolutely the right move, which is great because that means it's gonna move into the Mini, and then maybe the Pros will move up to 240 hertz. I think that's the future of things, but it's just a really, really awesome move for Apple to finally put the 120 hertz display in the non-Pro models, because now you're not getting penalized for not needing all the other Pro features. You're still getting an absolutely amazing fast screen. Next on the outside, they both have a frame, but the iPhone 16 Pro Max frame is titanium. This was a really big deal when the iPhone 15 Pro lineup was announced. They had all these really cool ads with like asteroids coming in. It was just absolutely incredible. But Apple has gone away from that because titanium doesn't dissipate heat as well as aluminum does. And so these phones do feel a little bit cheaper than last year, but they're going to perform better. And the fact that everybody puts a case on their phone anyways is not that big of a deal. Now, as far as durability goes, the iPhone 17 has the new Ceramic Shield 2, which is awesome. I have the 16 Pro Max. I shattered it in line at the Haunted Mansion when we were at Disney, and I dropped it literally like from my hip down to the floor with a case on, and the screen still cracked. That frustrated me to no end. And so I've seen videos with the Ceramic Shield 2 of people really bending it, and it seems like it's really strong. So if durability is like the thing you're after, maybe go with the 17. Now let's talk about the chips between these two phones. The 17 has the new A19, whereas the 16 Pro Max had the A18 Pro. Here's the thing, you cannot tell the difference between the two. They both feel lightning fast, they both feel efficient. There is just zero difference to me. Now that might be different if you're editing a ton of video on your phone, which when you do that, I just go buy a Mac Mini. You can do better video editing on that. And if you're gaming, maybe you're gonna get a few more frames per second because the 16 Pro Max has one more GPU core than the 17, but I don't know what that translates to in real life. Now the 16 Pro Max, because it is a max model phone, has a larger battery, which means you're gonna get 33 hours of video playback versus the 30 of the 17. Now here's the thing, when they test out their battery life, they turn off everything possible to make the battery last as long as it possibly can. So for you, don't expect to get that kind of playback, when you're using your phone regularly. And if you get a 16 Pro Max or the 16 lineup, if you get a used one, as batteries get older, they start to deteriorate in quality, and so they won't have as long a battery life. If you buy a new one, it should still be perfectly fine with that 33 hours, but if you get a used one, what you're probably gonna look at is something that's very similar to the 17. Now here's a huge update. The 17 has an 18 megapixel front-facing camera, whereas the 16 Pro Max only has a 12 megapixel camera. And the 17 has that new kind of open gate thing where it's capturing the full sensor, so you can pick between landscape or portrait. 16 Pro Max does not have that. It is not as good. So for people who go and take selfies all the time, like I take selfies with my family all the time, the 17 actually looks like a lot better of a phone. Now, while we're on the subject of cameras, the 16 Pro Max has 48 megapixel cameras. It's got a telephoto, it's got a wide angle and a regular one. Whereas on the 17, you don't have the telephoto lens. And for me, I don't care. I do not use any cell phone's telephoto lens. I don't know, other people can make good photo quality out of the telephotos. I never can, I don't like the look of them. Plus, I take like every photo ultra wide. So is it a nice thing to have that extra telephoto length? Absolutely. Say you're at a kid's recital or something like that and you wanna get a little bit further out, you can. For me, I always just choose to walk forward. I'll be that parent, I don't care. Now with those cameras comes the ability to take video as well, and this is the big thing that distinguishes the regular model 17 to the 16 Pro Max. In the 16 Pro Max, you can get all sorts of ProRes and you can get RAW features. Like the video capabilities of the Pro models far outweighs what the 17 can do. But I will tell you this, I am a professional videographer. I have a video company, I've got this YouTube channel. I don't ever take ProRes video on my phone. I mean, the files would be absolutely enormous. Yes, you get better dynamic range, you get so much out of it, and I've seen people who have made videos with iPhones that look like cinematic and beautiful, but I have regular cameras for that. So all those extra video features, that's for like 0.1% of the entire population of people who get Pro iPhones. So if you're not a professional, I don't really see a big need anymore for going with the Pro Max or the Pro iPhone. I mean, I get it if you like that compressed look, if you're somebody who uses the telephoto lens a lot, but for the rest of us, the regular iPhone lens is fine, and the ultra wide is the coolest looking lens for sure. And I mean, I grew up on YouTube from like 2000, the early 2000s, so ultra wide with like Casey Neistat, all that, I just think that looks the best. And yes, that is personal preference, so if you love telephoto lenses, then you're gonna have to go back to the 16 Pro Max. But I will tell you this, I think the 17 is actually the phone that people definitely need to go with. It feels better in your hand. The blue color is absolutely gorgeous. The screen is like the perfect screen. The size is amazing. The photos with the ultra wide and the regular camera. And then here's the biggest thing. Here's why. The price. The 16 Pro Max is gonna sell for probably around $1,000, maybe $950, something like that. The 17 is 800 bucks. Take that extra $200 and go buy an Apple Watch, or buy, half of a Mac Mini, or get 2/3 of the way to the new A16 iPad. There's just all sorts of things you could do. Bigger one would be probably go get those AirPod Pro 3s, which don't sound as good as the 2 this year. Video on that coming up soon, so get subscribed. I think the iPhone 17 is the absolute perfect iPhone for most people this year. Now the big question is gonna be when the 18 series comes out. I'm probably still gonna recommend this because it is an absolutely awesome phone. So I'll throw some links in the description. That'll help out with some affiliate link if you wanna buy one of these phones. I think they're both great. The 16 Pro Max is still amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. I've used it for the past year. I was contemplating still using it for this next year, but man, the 17 is just so great. So like this video if you found it helpful, sub to the channel. I would appreciate that. We're on our way to 20,000 and you will make a difference. I love you guys. I'll see you all in the next one.